Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Grammar Literacy event. So, during this interview, we're going to talk about multilingual teenagers, which is something that quite a few parents asked about. Because during the teenage years, our children are building their identity and turn more towards their peers than their family. And because they want to fit in, it often happens that they want to hide or even reject their heritage. And this can be even more the case when the home culture or language is not one of the prestigious ones that are perceived in the society. So to talk about this topic, I'm very honored to welcome Dr. Ramona Gönczöl, who worked with a school on a project to help teenagers be prouder of their heritage. So Dr. Gonçol is an associate professor in Romanian language studies at the SSEES, which is the School of Slavonic and East European Studies at UCL. And she convenes the ProLang group and is the academic coordinator of the short courses program at the SSEES. And she's also the author of Romanian and Essential Grammar and co-authored Colloquial Romanian. Dr. Gönczöl research interests lie in the area of language acquisition, heritage speakers, cultural identities, language policies, multilingualism, and ethnographic pedagogy. She has received several commendations for all the work she has done. So she's a fellow of the Higher Education Academy, recipient of the Romanian Order of Cultural Merits, and she received a commendation for the Chartered Institute of Linguists. So, Dr. Gönczöl, it's a real honor to have you today. Thank you very much for being with us.
Oh, thank you, Yoshito, for inviting me.
It's a real pleasure, and I look forward to talk about this interesting topic. But before we start, you're giving away free consultations as part of the big giveaway during this event. Could you tell us who it is for and what you can help with?
Yes, so it is for schools that are ethnically very diverse, ideally have some speakers, whether they are home community or heritage speakers of languages that my department covers. So CEAS, because we call it CEAS, it's easier, covers 18 languages from Central Europe, Southeast Europe, Eastern Europe, the Baltic area, and Russia. So any of these languages are offered either as a degree or as a short course evening class.
Okay.
I mean, I could name them all if you want, but I think people understand which geographic area they come from.
Yeah. Thank you very much. And so just to remind everyone, if you want to enter this giveaway, you just need to let me know that you want to win this prize by clicking the Google form that's in the description and by asking your questions. So you have until the 4th of October to ask any question or comments on the video to win this consultation. So during the Grammar Literacy event, we talk about translanguaging as a way to value our students' languages and identities. So the work you have done in the school to value certain cultures has had a very powerful impact on students. And I would like to discuss this to give an idea to other schools who might be inspired by it. So could you please explain the project you have worked on and what kind of school was the school you worked with? So was it an international school, public school? What kind of school was it?
Yeah, sure. So we actually completed two projects. The first one was called PEAL, which stands for Proficiency in East European Languages, and lasted for 3 years. And in that project, we worked with a comprehensive school in North Wales. And then later in the project, with 2 more other comprehensive schools, secondary schools, all of them, in London. So that was the first project. And then that was followed by RAP, the Raising Aspirations project, which lasted for 1 year, in which we only worked with 1 school in London because we changed the structure of the project very much. So today I'd like to talk about both projects and also the symposium that followed these projects where we presented the work and had very interesting other presentations on multilingualism and where we met.
Yeah.
So yeah, if I could share just one slide for people to
Yeah,
understand.
sure, yeah.
Um,
So just, yeah.
yeah,
Okay. Yeah,
so
you can see it.
yeah. So that's what I want to talk about today. This is a e-poster slide that I used in another presentation. So the Peel project, the RAP project, and then the Symposium. And yeah, so I'll come back to the PowerPoint now and again.
Yeah, thank you very much. And so maybe to understand a bit better, could you explain what age group you work with and why you chose this age group?
Yeah. So for the Peel project, the first one, we worked with year 11 pupils, whilst for the RAP project, we worked with year 9 and year 10. I mean, these were the kind of recommendations and needs of the school. So they told us that that would be the most suitable
Yeah,
age for
so
these projects.
thank you. And just to clarify for the people who are outside the England or the UK,
Yeah,
so year 11, it's 15, 16-year-old.
correct.
Year 10 and 9, so it's year younger. So year 9, I think you're 13, 14.
Yeah, and 12, 13.
13,
Yeah,
14. Yeah.
roughly. Yeah, so between 12 and 16, let's say, roughly speaking. Yeah.
Okay. And it was the age group that was the best because of this disconnect they can be with the heritage.
Yes, I mean, well, that would apply, I guess, for other ages as well. But the schools, because we're talking about 3 schools after all,
Yeah.
considered that these age groups were the most suitable for the project or had the most availability or most speakers. It was more their choice than ours. But I mean, like I said, anything, any year in secondary school would have been suitable for us.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. And can you give us a bit more details about how your intervention was planned? So how did you choose the schools maybe first? And or did they choose, what was it a
Yeah.
mutual? I guess it was something mutual, but and I imagine that it was a collaboration between the school and your team. So how did you work together?
Yeah, so the first project that started in 2022, the Peel project, Proficiency in European Languages, was initiated by a secondary school in North Wales. They contacted us and said, we have 150 home community and heritage speakers of Romanian and Bulgarian. We would like to do something for these students to increase their chances of employment in the future and show that they are proficient in another language, even if it's their first language, let's say, although it wasn't always the first language. So we embraced the opportunity. It's always very good if the demand comes from the school, from the ground, so to speak. So we started the project with no budget. We worked on zero budget for 2 years on a voluntary basis, myself and my Bulgarian colleague lecturer. And what we did in that project was we couldn't afford to teach the kids much because of this kind of no budget and also the distance. So we only served some preparation packs and then tests that are comparable to GCSE entry level for languages in Romanian and Bulgarian, marked the tests and then awarded them with a UCL certificate showing, their level of proficiency in these languages. So that's how the first one started. After 2 years, we got some funding. We also got a reward in the meantime from UCL, a runner-up reward from the widening and outreach outreach and widening participation office. And once we got some budget, we extended the project to 2 more schools and also started offering online sessions to all 3 schools in preparation for the test and the certificates and so on. So yeah, and that was 1 more year. That's how long the budget lasted. And I mean, I could tell you a lot more details about PEEL, but just to mention RAP as well. So the Raising Aspirations project in heritage speakers of 3 languages now. So the first one covered Romanian, Bulgarian, and Ukrainian. We added Ukrainian in the 3rd year. And the second project covered Romanian, Bulgarian, and Albanian.
Okay.
Yeah, and with the second project, the school we worked with was one of the schools that was involved in the first project, but we changed the structure completely. And this time in the RAP project, we invited the school with the cohorts of these 3 languages to come to UCL. So all sessions took place on UCL campus. That was very important. Kids absolutely loved coming to university. And during the project, so although we started with 3 languages, Romanian, Bulgarian, and Albanian, we also added Brazilian Portuguese and Latin American Spanish, again, at the request of the school, because they wanted more kids to benefit from this project and come to UCL and take part in the sessions.
Yeah, so I think that for during the symposium, you were mentioning as well the impact it had on students to go to university. Like
Yeah.
it's a prestigious place, and they're actually preparing all of this to help us. And so I think that was a good move as well, instead of going to the school, to take the students out and bring them to the university.
Absolutely. So we also, so going back to the first project, the PEEL project, although for 2 years we only ran these tests and marked them and offered the certificates, everything was done recorded, so the school was very proactive and helpful, in this sense. When we got the funding and ran the project for 1 more year and invited 2 more schools, we also had a day at UCL kind of visit, residential visit for all 3 schools, including the one in North Wales that came by train, 6 hours or whatever it took them, and came to UCL. So that's when we realized that coming to a university campus is very important for secondary school kids. So therefore, the RAP project took that on board even more, and everything happened on UCL campus. Obviously, logistically, it wasn't that easy to organize all these sessions on the campus, because towards the end of the project, we were running 5 languages in parallel at the same time with 5 cohorts of speakers and so on. But for that reason, we had long 3-hour sessions 3 times, so 9 hours in total, but 1 per term, as opposed to in the previous project where we offered 6 sessions online of 1 hour each. So there would be 2 sessions per term of 1 hour each. So in a way, we more or less kept the amount of contact time, but on UCL campus. When we were teaching online with the 3 languages and 3 schools, that wasn't an easy exercise at all, because of the distance between schools. We couldn't go to the schools physically, so we had to be online. And having 3 schools online on 3 screens, at the same time, with obviously kids were grouped in rooms, that they did have a teacher who would kind of supervise them a bit, but they didn't have individual headsets or anything like that. So it was all on one big screen. They would see me on the screen. I would see 3 screens with these groups of students, not always behaving perfectly, but showing a lot of enthusiasm and keenness to do it. So that was hard. And that's why we realized that online, especially with more than 1 school, is difficult.
Yeah. And so I think there was a lot that was happening in these sessions. And I don't know if you want, so from what I understand, the peer project was more in terms of students understanding that they can actually read, write, speak, they're proficient in their languages. The RAP project was more to aspire them
Correct.
to have them understand that
Yeah.
their languages and cultures are valuable. And so in these sessions,
Mhm.
so in the RAP project to aspire, so to inspire these students, what kind of content did you design?
Yeah. So for the online sessions with the 3 schools at the same time, we covered sticky language and grammar points that we knew they struggle with. For instance, orthography, spelling of difficult words, grammar points. In Romanian, we have the letter I plays a big role in grammar. It could be a plural, it could be a definite article, it could be a genitive dative marker. So you know, this is just an example. So, you know, you could spell a word with one I, two I's, three I's, and it is confusing unless you obviously went to a formal Romanian language school in the past.
Yeah.
So we knew that things like that are difficult. Also, we use a hyphen when we spell in Romanian. So again, they were not always sure where that hyphen goes. We have double letters in some words. So all these language and grammar points were very helpful for them to clarify, to practice with. But we also covered cultural topics. We try to use contemporary texts for these kind of topics, so they relate to them and find them interesting. We sometimes ask them what they wanted as well, so they felt, you know, part of constructing the session. So for instance, they suggested a text or a discussion around the text on the topic of whether mobile phones in schools are a good idea or a bad idea. So they really love talking about the pros and cons of using a mobile phone when you're at school. And they also very much appreciated any cultural topics such as around Christmas celebrations, Easter celebrations. I think that was also part of them missing those kind of celebrations, traditional celebrations. Either they experienced them a little bit in the past or just on holidays or not at all, because I do have a slide on the lessons we learned from these projects, and I think it would be good if we spend a minute on that soon enough. But one of the big lessons we learned was that the profile of these home, community, and heritage speakers is very diverse. So some of these kids were born in Romania and moved to Britain at some point with their families. Obviously, the age when they moved is very important. There's a big difference if you move when you're 3 or when you're 12. But some were born in outside Romania, say in Greece or Italy, and then moved to Britain. And yes, they were speaking Romanian at home, but they had very little connection with Romania. They didn't even spend much time there. And then some were heritage speakers which were born here in Britain. So very diverse profile of the speakers.
I guess these cultural sessions are where actually students can relate to one another. Because
Yes.
my impression is that when it's something linguistic and how well you understand how to write, etc., it can be like a comparison. Oh yeah, they were born in that country, so maybe that's why they know better, but I was born in England. But when it's cultural, it's just about connection and sharing things that you know, and that maybe generally, I guess, in schools, students, when they're not encouraged, they don't really talk about home or their culture. So maybe they can, it's the first time when they can say, oh yeah, but I watched this cartoon as well when I was little, or my parents listen to that music and have some common points, and feeling part of a group and not just one person who happens to have a certain language or culture at home.
Absolutely. You'll see that in the feedback, because I have 2 slides with feedback from the students.
Ah,
I think that's
okay.
very telling, yeah, about any project. So they really appreciate meeting other similar students that share their language, their culture, their worries, if you want. Often coming from a minority language and culture, you can experience negative moments, you know, like racism or prejudices.
Mm.
So, you know, being able to kind of share all that experience was very important. Shall I tell you a little bit about the rap structure, the sessions that were
Yeah,
part of the
yes,
rap
please.
structure
Yeah.
as well? So, like I said, we first of all, by running the first project, we realized that a very important thing that we could do for these students was to raise their aspirations. We realized that they were not very hopeful towards the future. So therefore, the RAP project, Raising Aspirations in Heritage Speakers of These Languages, had the following sessions. Session 1 was entitled My Story So Far as a Second Generation Immigrant. And that included stories of famous people with similar backgrounds, just for them to see that anything's possible. We talked about stereotypes, identity, global citizenship, and some cultural topics as well. We also had one of the ambassadors, the Albanian ambassador, visiting and telling them about his immigrant story and the fact that he studied at UCL. So that was a very big highlight of the first session. The second session was entitled Where Next with My Heritage. So this session focused on careers, jobs, university options. It had a practical side on translating a poem, subtitling a snippet of a cartoon, for instance, writing a generic CV, role-playing like job interviews in their languages. And they also applied in the role plays for jobs that were advertised live on internet. So, you know, they were real, not made up by me. And that was by far the most popular session. Kids really wanted to know what they could do with their lives in the future and their heritage that we highlighted and celebrated so much with them. And then the third session started with rewriting a fairy tale, as I wanted to have more samples of their writing, but also a joint lecture with all the 5 languages that were involved in the project on proverbs and comparison between the 5 languages. And we also watched testimonials from current and former UCL students who did degrees with the languages that the project covered, and talking about life at university and what it's like to study these languages and so on. That was another very successful session. You know, they love talking about their heritage, identity, their languages, and to play in their language, like with a job interview and so on.
Yeah.
I could maybe share some feedback.
That would be great, yeah.
Yeah. You also asked for one anecdote, and I do have one.
Be great, yeah.
So just before I share the PowerPoint, when you work with schools are very busy, as you know very well. Moving close to 100 kids from the school by public bus to UCL, even if it was about an hour, the whole journey was quite a mission. Yeah, so they tend to always be late, maybe close to 30 minutes late. We understood, of course, we always waited for them at the bus stop just to kind of move the cohort of kids faster. You know, they came with 3-4 teachers or support staff, you know, so yeah, everybody was very kind of supportive and involved in the project. But the anecdote is that we always knew that whatever we planned might not happen entirely. So we would always prioritize 3 or 4 points for each session and then kind of leave it to destiny and to how late the school was, you know, to see if we could cover the whole plan. But nevertheless, it was one of the most satisfactory and fulfilling projects we've ever done. So yeah, so I'll share the feedback from the kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, so here it is. 1 second. Can you see it? It's okay.
Here we see 2 photos.
Yeah, so these are just some photos of the joint session with 5 languages and then kids holding up their certificates. And then here's some feedback from the Peel project. I only looked at the feedback on the Romanian sessions just because I'm not able to read, you know, Bulgarian and so on. But the feedback was similar to all languages, yeah. So I'll just let people read the feedback for 30 seconds or...
Yeah.
So the things in bold are the questions and then examples of what they said in the feedback. They replied in Romanian or a mixture of Romanian and English, so I had to translate it for the slide.
Okay, yeah. And I guess as well, I think one of the powerful things is that you brought in some real people to share their stories and like who are now ambassadors, and I don't know what the others were, but it's like high profile. So it shows that with your language you can get to high places. And also you said you were using real interview, what is it called? Adverts, where they could see that Romanian or Bulgarian, etc., was actually in demand in jobs. So I think that helps a lot.
Yeah. Should I go to the second slide with feedback on the
Yeah,
RAP
I guess
project? Do you
because
think?
people can pause the video if they watch after as well.
Sorry, I got the wrong mouse. So that is snippets of the feedback I received on the RAP project. You'll see that some reactions overlap because they just love being together, being celebrated, like I said, being told
Yeah,
that, you know, their background, their heritage, their migrant identity matters. It's important. They have the right to exercise it, to display it, to talk about it, and so on.
yeah. The answers at the bottom for the last question are very like powerful. Like to see that
Yeah,
they like the
yeah,
first one, it made me think that I can have a future. And
yeah,
like it means that before they didn't think it was useful at all. But thanks to these sessions
yeah,
and being maybe with others and being inspired by real people, they saw that okay, my heritage is not nothing, it counts for something. I can make something out of it thanks to it.
yeah.
So that's great. Thank you very much for sharing these with us.
Yeah. I mean, we could maybe, I don't know if it's not too early, but it doesn't matter. We could have a look at what we learned from running this practical project, even
Yeah,
if we
I'm
come
just
back.
going to read quickly a comment we have from Franklin.
Yeah,
So who said, great idea to motivate teenagers by showing real current examples of successful young people with similar conditions of their same country. So I think it's really being able to relate and see like their future selves in these speakers, whether it's students or professionals.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they loved it. They didn't know about many of these people. So for instance, again, if we talk about the Romanian sessions, there's a prima ballerina that's Romanian. There's a famous singer, like international singer, Ina. I'm sure that lots of other kids know about her, and so on and so forth. Yeah. Even one of the former bosses of the Docklands, area was Romanian. So of course, you can't know everything, especially when you're 14, so it's good
Yeah,
if you're shown and pointed out these
yeah,
things. Yeah. And of course, like sports people, artists and so on, I mean, you'd find them
yeah,
uh in all, back like cultures really. So
yeah,
if we look at these slides, what we learned from running these practical projects, because they're very much practical projects. I've
yeah,
already mentioned that the profile of the kids was very diverse. I mentioned that age was important of when they emigrated or when they started speaking their heritage language. So if you're born here, well, hopefully your family kind of started speaking to you in your heritage language from the start, but maybe not, Um, so being emigrated or versus being born here makes a difference as well in how they relate to their heritage and proficiency and so on. I kind of mentioned half of the ideas already. So the length of time spent in the home or intermediary countries, like I explained before. The fact that another big lesson is like schools are busy, you have to follow their schedule. They cannot adapt to your kind of plans because
yeah.
um
It's so difficult as well for us teachers to organize any trip
exactly,
because we need to take into account so many things.
exactly. So it's best if you really respect that when you work with a school and really follow their schedule.
Yeah,
And then the languages we covered are little acknowledged, and students were puzzled by the sudden attention. That's true, because they never received so much attention, especially from UCL, because they didn't know that you could study these languages at UCL. UCL is one of the
yeah,
only university in the United Kingdom that offers all these languages. There are some that offer 2 or 3, but not 18 like us, yeah? Uh,
okay,
so often their model was one of their parents. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's good if you have other models as well. So therefore raising their aspirations and pride was very important, more important than fixing their language, so to speak.
yeah,
We also noticed that some wanted to sound very native British at the cost of their heritage language or accent. as they try to fit in, like you said earlier, with a crowd, you know, and not stand out. At that age, that is very important to fit in.
Yeah.
But it can also have consequences that you reject or ignore your heritage or your language as well. So they also had no idea that these languages are important or deserve to be celebrated or are needed in this country. They don't know each other, sometimes even inside the same school. So that was a great gain for them to know that, oh, wow, there are another 20 like me in my own school, plus other
Yeah.
schools, you know. And we realized that they need our help very much with fighting for GCSEs to be introduced in more community languages. I'll talk a bit more about that in a minute. Their future aspirations, teaching them to be active citizens and celebrate their multilingualism, because after all, they are multilingual or at least bilingual, but often multilingual.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll stop sharing and come back to the
Yeah.
PowerPoint.
But it's great to hear these stories, and it's not always easy to organize all these programs in
No.
different schools, but it's so worthwhile. And so talking about schools, I was so maybe some are inspired by your session and want to organize sessions like this in their schools. Um, is there any advice you would give to such schools? Yeah, to organize a program like this?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think, yeah, it's not easy to organize these things, but it's so worth it. So the feedback that you saw from the students was very positive, and I think it says it all that it's worth it, you know, how much they appreciated it. So a bit of planning helps, of course, you know. Uh, Please do remember universities are willing to collaborate. We're very willing to collaborate. So, and I'm sure other universities as well. So reach out, you know, because I remember, and probably you remember when the teacher from Wales said, oh, I was thinking whether to contact you or not. Probably you're busy in your university world. And then when she did, we were like, of course, let's work together. So that's a kind of preconception, you know, that universities don't want to work with schools. They very much want to work with schools. Keep it realistic and practical, you know, in terms of how many sessions you can do, you know, what's the distance to travel, or whether it's more convenient to do it online or for the university to come to the school. However, bringing pupils and students to university is very important and impactful. So at least one visit, yeah, it will
Yeah.
make a huge difference in how they see the future and how they see the university system. It becomes more approachable, more accessible than they might think before. It's a good idea to inform parents of the scope of such projects, as they are very important in supporting the kids' heritage. So it's good if you involve them or feel them that make them feel that they're part of this project. And I'm
Yeah.
sure they'll be responsive and proactive if they understand why these projects are important, or raising their kids' aspirations, or preserving and maintaining and enriching their heritage. Also, another reason why these projects, this kind of projects, working with heritage speakers and community speakers is important, is because maintaining one's home or heritage language is highly beneficial for fulfilling one's identity, for being entirely yourself, for contributing to multilingualism, and acknowledging that you are multilingual as well, but also for mental health, feeling that a part of you is not important, or it should be concealed or ignored, or the society might not be interested in that part of you, is very disturbing and has very bad consequences, and can lower someone's aspirations and affect their well-being. So that's why celebrating their heritage is very important.
It's true that often, sorry, it's true
Yeah.
that often when we don't say it out
Mm.
loud, even if we like, I know, for example, in my school, up to recently, we didn't do that much about multilingualism, multiculturalism. And last year, we started having some events, and I spoke to quite a few teachers, and I didn't think they would be enthusiastic. I thought it was more for students, but they were so enthusiastic about it. And but now that this is happening, people opening up a bit more, saying it a bit more out loud, that it's like a fantastic treasure to be speaking different languages and cultures. And that's when students realize, oh, okay, so my teachers or adults are saying that, so and they might be thinking it must be true somehow.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So schools can also make use of parents, especially if they are of various linguistic backgrounds and maybe are successful professionals, to do the same, to talk to kids about opportunities and professions and jobs that they can do with their heritage. And also, if people who listen to us now want to watch the first symposium, there's a recording on the YouTube CSUCL channel. I'll share a slide with you in a second. And
Yeah,
if you want to add that in the feedback or after
yeah.
the
If you give me the link, I can put it
yeah
in the description of this
yeah,
video.
so I'll do it now. Yeah. So because they'll hear more inspirational presentations as well, as you remember, about a lot of multilingual projects. And they'll hear the schools talking and two of the participating students talking, because we actually invited a couple of kids as well to talk. So I'll share that. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I don't know what I
Or you
did.
can share it after, that's
Sorry.
fine.
Uh, shall I share it just for a minute? Yeah.
Okay, if you have a slide, you can show it, that's
Yeah,
fine.
yeah. So it's this one. So whilst people look at it, I could talk about the symposium a little bit. So,
Yeah,
so we wanted to the link is at the bottom. Sorry for the recording. So they can find it by simply going to YouTube channel for UCLCs as it's written there, and then
okay,
the name of the symposium, which is Languages, Identity, Belonging. But that's the direct link.
okay,
So we organized the National Symposium to present the work, to have other examples of multilingual projects, to invite the schools to talk, and create a network, ideally, of schools that want to do similar projects or participate in similar projects.
okay,
And outcomes of this symposium were that we were invited to more national and international conferences, or presentations like today. I also joined the special interest group for Heritage Home and Community Languages of the Association for Language Learning, ALL. I'm sure schools are familiar with
yeah,
that. I've written an article about the future of Romanian as a heritage language in the UK. And also I'm working on a proposal for a textbook for Romanian for heritage speakers. So, you know, the outcome of two projects and a symposium is quite long-term. It has a quite a long-term impact.
yeah.
Yeah, I'll stop yeah.
Thank you. I found the YouTube
Yeah, link.
channel,
Yeah.
so I can link it
Yeah,
below.
wonderful. Yeah.
And so this project was for certain languages. Uh, do you think so? In several many schools, there are like maybe 30 different home languages. Do you think it's possible to create such program for all the languages and cultures, or do you think it's better to focus on certain cultures at a time?
Of course, it's possible. I mean, when the school that we work with on the RAP project asks us to add Brazilian Portuguese and Latin American Spanish, we immediately did it because they wanted this exactly for this reason, to have as many pupils as possible to benefit from the project and raise their aspirations. So absolutely, it can be done. You can keep the sessions on topics, but cover multiple languages and stories. The principles apply to all languages. So yes, absolutely.
Okay, that's encouraging.
Yeah.
And I guess so anyone who enters the giveaway and can have a consultation with you can talk about this more in details.
Yes,
But it's good
absolutely.
to know they can be applied to like your whole school if you want, not
Yes.
just certain students.
Yeah.
And so based on your experience, how much would you think that valuing the heritage language contributes to maintaining it alive for children?
Enormously. So in the case of the Romanian pupils, just because I know best, I know this best,
Yeah,
but of course it applies to many other languages and backgrounds. they often hide, like we said, or even renounce their heritage so they fit in and not stand out or avoid racial experiences. So such projects alleviate a lot of negative burdens they carry with them, opening their horizons through these powerful examples of successful immigrants like themselves in the UK, and give them hope that they can do a degree or have a career using their heritage, and just making them proud of who they are at the end of the day.
Yeah. Okay. And so in the you said earlier that you're also looking to collaborate with schools. Um, so are you looking for certain schools now? And is there any type of school you're looking for, or could it be any type of school?
Yeah, any type of school, as long as it's ethnically diverse, that would be great. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
obviously, if it's in London proximity, if we are to meet
Yeah.
face to face, but otherwise online, yeah, anywhere.
Okay. Um, so also maybe the last questions. By the way, we have a few people following us online. If you want to know more details about the different projects, or maybe how it can be applied to your school, feel free to write any comment or question, and I just read them out to Dr. Gönczöl. So I'm thinking there are probably teachers watching us or watching us later, catching up, who might be thinking it might be a good idea to do something similar in our school. But you know how it's like in different so during the conferences we hear a lot of information and might be a bit overwhelmed. And here there are 3 days of loads of ideas, new ideas. Is there one thing you would like to share with teachers to say you can do one thing to change a lot?
Uh, I
Uh,
mean,
I mean, so
yeah.
related to your project.
Yeah, I mean, if you do something like that, first of all, you'll be very popular with your students, and you'll impact their future, change their perspective on their choices for the future, and remain in their good memories forever. They absolutely love the project. Let's remember the feedback we read on the slides. And through these projects, just 2 projects, and with limited kind of contact with the schools, we managed to reach out to over 200 students that and covered 6 languages in the end, if we add all the languages that were involved. So I think it's worth it, yeah.
Okay. And so you started with piano, then you went to the rap. Is there any follow-up uh, research or project you have in mind?
Yeah, so I think apart from what I've already mentioned, like writing an article and preparing a proposal for a book for Romanian as a heritage language, we also want to organize a second symposium online, because the first one was face to face and it was hard to travel to UCL. But this time it would be online, so anyone can join. It would be sometime early July 2026. I just want to share this slide for people to see. Sorry, 1 second. This is the last slide anyway. So it would be sometime early July. And if people get in touch with me by email or on LinkedIn, this is my name on LinkedIn, simply my name, they'll get more information about
Okay.
that.
Okay.
Yeah, so I
Mm,
actually completed another project with an undergraduate class at UCL. So this time it's UCL students, which is
okay.
entitled Searching for Romanian Heritage in London Museums. That's another example of what can be done even at university
Yeah.
level. Um, and the point of that project was to kind of combat stereotypes, prejudices through culture. So
Yeah.
they visited a few London museums. They did a lot of research online, because museum websites are very rich in information. Um, and one other thing that I'd like to do is, like I said, but I'm going to say it again because it's very important for me, is to win the battle of introducing more GCSEs more, you know, in community languages, including
Yeah,
Romanian, of course. Yeah. As such, first of all, we did get feedback from students saying this is not okay, that we don't have a GCSE in Romanian, and the same in
yeah,
the other languages. But also that would be an acknowledgement of their rights as, you know, immigrants, multilingual immigrants, which I think is very important,
yeah.
and of their heritage and importance and reality of their heritage in the UK. So yeah.
Yeah, having something official gives another status to your language, so
Yeah.
it's really important.
Yeah.
And so I put in the description below the your UCL profile. I'm going to add your LinkedIn,
Yes.
uh, and any other so the UCLC's YouTube channel as well,
Yeah.
so people can find a bit
Yeah.
everything. Um, yeah. So thank you so much, Ramon. Dr. Gönczöl, sorry
No, no.
for sharing your work with us. I hope this is going to be inspiring other schools to have the teenagers value their heritage and gives a few ideas of how to do it. And we're now coming up to the end of the morning interviews. So if you're in Europe like me, I let you have your lunch and I'll see you a bit later. And so at 1:45, we're going to be back to talk about multilingualism and autism with Dr. Alexandra Perovic. So if you're interested, I invite you to join us. So I'll see you then. And Dr. Gönczöl, thank you very much again for being with us. It was a real pleasure to discover your project.
Thank you. It was wonderful. Thank you very much for inviting me. And yeah, I'm sure we'll do more things together in the future. Thank you.
Yeah, with pleasure. Thank you. Bye, everyone.